Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Thrive Like a Parent podcast. I am coming to you from my office. However, my house is under renovations, which I've never done before. And I've been wanting to hop on here and do a podcast for no joke weeks, but noise and dust and all the things. So I have been wanting to share with you and talk with you how winter break went because I think it's a really important piece of the puzzle. And I don't think that this happens as a norm in most relationships. And so I'm going to bring it up and I'm going to talk about it and I'm going to explain why it's so important and I'm going to explain how to foster this type of connection within a relationship because clearly I want that for each and every one of you. So let's give you the backstory as I usually do. I was not planning on diving into massive renovations on my home, but our contractor came through and was, I can start next week. And I was, huh? What? Who? And we had thought about going out of town for winter break. The kids wanted snow. We were looking. And ultimately, when this came about, we decided to stay because what better time to do this than, well, I had some time off. But what they didn't say, and they did kind of say it, is that it would be best if I could get out of the house. And I was, no, it's fine. Well, we painted the cabinets. And if you've ever done that, which I've never done any renovations, FYI, the amount of dust that gets picked up from these machines that they use to spray the cabinets, as well as the fumes from the particular type of paint they use to do the cabinets is not livable. I don't really know what to say. So last minute, we decided to find a place to stay. I was looking at Airbnbs and then a neighbor was going out of town and she was so gracious and let me stay at her house, which this is a close neighbor friend of mine. And off we went. So it was really awesome to be able to be close to home to help with all questions and things that but also not in the mayhem and smell and all the things. And we stayed at her house for a week. And during that week, a few things happened. Now, I take off 2 weeks from work the last 2 weeks of the year, Christmas week, which was also Hanukkah week, and New Year's week. There is a level of effort that is expended when you are a parent. There is a level of energy that is expended if you're a stay-at-home parent, mom, dad, whoever. But I knew that with the end of the year and us having so many different calls because so many of you wanted to join Thrive for January, I knew that my schedule was jam-packed more than the norm. Okay. I am very strict with boundaries on my schedule because I know what I can and cannot do in terms of my own mental health and making sure that I'm supporting myself and giving myself what I need. And I knew I was stretching a little, but you know what? It's fine. I'll have 2 weeks off. It's no big deal. We'll get it done. I'm so excited for all these people. And I loved talking to everyone that I talked to. And it was wonderful. I loved it. I can't say enough. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't love it, but I definitely felt it. So let's talk about what changed, right, within a very short period of time. My work schedule changed. My children were then at home. I was not in my own home. I didn't necessarily know what all was involved with this. And so I didn't prepare very well, if you will. And so I definitely felt really uncomfortable and not myself that first week when I wasn't at my house. And Carter could feel it. Carter could tell. He kept checking in on me. And for lack of better terms, I was struggling. But I also knew that my body and brain was going to come down the curve after being hyped and working so hard. And also being in a new space takes my body and brain a few days to kind of settle in and get some good rest and all the different things. So many, many, many months ago, I wasn't doing well. And Carter and I were on a date to dinner and he looked at me and he said, when you are not doing well, and that means just for Brooke to not be doing well, that means I'm still functioning. I'm doing much better than I would say I ever have done in my past when I'm not, quote, doing well. But I am feeling the tiredness. I am feeling the stretched thin. I'm feeling it. And most of the times I'm able to manage it without feeling it. And it feels really good amount on my plate. And so many, many months ago, I was sitting there literally crying at the sushi counter with Carter. And he looked at me and he was, when you're not doing well at that, how can I support you? What can I do to help you? And he kept asking me all that week what he could do. And I know I'm jumping all over the place. Again, this story is months ago. He kept asking and I kept saying, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And for some reason, sitting down, being able to have an adult conversation away from the kids, I looked at him and I think that when I'm in that state or not doing well, I need time. I need you to push me out the door. I need to go take 3 hours to myself. You know my rule of threes. I need you to push me because sometimes I have a hard time giving that to myself. I didn't when I knew I really, really, really needed it through healing of all my trauma with Jonathan. But I would say that I'm doing so much better that I don't necessarily feel that I push myself to go do those things for myself anymore. I'd rather spend time with the kids or spend time with the family, with Carter and Lila, and just stay involved and not be like, hey, I got to go be by myself, you know? And he said, okay, I can do that. Okay. And I was already in tears because I wasn't doing that well during this conversation. But cue the waterworks when he asked me that. Because, and as I was saying my need, it took me a week to figure out what that need was, because doing this solo versus doing it with a partner is completely different. It's relying on yourself and getting a sitter or doing what you need to do or figuring it out versus then having someone that you can rely on or ask for support, which isn't very easy. And I literally was crying as I was saying, I think I need you to push me out the door. And then I looked at him and I said, I love you. And thank you for asking that, because I've never been in a relationship where anyone has ever asked me that or cared enough to ask or been a partnership enough to be curious or help me figure this out as a team. And that was there's many big moments in our relationship, or many firsts for me, because I'm in a very healthy relationship. But that is a moment I will absolutely never forget within my partnership with Carter. And now let's fast forward back to where we are today. Mayhem at the house, living at someone else's house down the street. If you saw my stories, I definitely didn't pack up the gifts or Hanukkah, or I had to borrow a menorah from a neighbor. This was the ultimate lean in and accept help, if you will. Me staying at someone else's house and, like, in quote, imposing. Oh my gosh, I could never have done that years ago, but it just felt natural. We're all in this community together and we all support each other in the neighborhood, and it's okay to support one another. And when I needed a menorah, not only did this other neighbor drop off a menorah, but she dropped off candles and some blue and white fun cookies and glasses with candles sticking out of them. Like, it was incredible. It was something I honestly didn't really take in or allow through the thick of my grief with Jonathan, because I was so in the thick of it. And then I stepped into this zone of I can do it all. And I don't want to impose on anyone else. Everyone else is busy. Everyone else has got their own shtick. Everyone else has, lives to attend to. Yes, if I need something and I ask, they will come. But if you can do it on your own, And I really did have that mindset for a really long time. And I have said before, lean on people, because I didn't. And I wish that I had more. But I did this time and it felt so good. But Carter knew that I wasn't doing well. And so he said, get up, let's go. And I was, what? And he's, we're going to go on a date tonight. And I was, huh? And he's like, yeah, we'll find a sitter. Let's go. Out of the blue, a random night. And I was, okay. And it changed everything for me. It was exactly what I needed. And he made good on his original ask of, how can I support you in moments like that? And I just kept looking at him through dinner and I was, thank you so much. Like, this is exactly what I needed. Like, I feel so much better. Like, thank you. This was so great. I'm so glad you said, let's do this, and pushed to do this and made this, not only believe this, but I see this with my clients and I hear this with my clients. And I also know it to be a pattern within my old past relationship. When we are not at our best, usually that means that we have to rely on our partner to do more. And sometimes that means that partner is more exhausted because they have to do more. There's also a ton of individuals who feel like when one is down, they pick up the pieces. But when the other one is down, the other one doesn't pick up the pieces. And so it's not balanced or even or fair, or it doesn't feel the support is reciprocated or returned. There are relationships where because we're picking up more, we get resentful and angry and pissed off and frustrated. And then we're storming around the house. And because we're doing more, we don't have any ability to be there for our partner because we've got extra on our plate because our partner is, let's say, in bed sick or something. And the craziest thing about all those examples I just gave you is whichever one of you is not doing well in that moment, the laundry, the dishes, the making sure the schedule happens, the to-do list, the soccer games, the sports practices, all of that they're incidentals, they're extras compared to the person who's not doing well. And we are so focused on, as a society, achieving, and it's not just achieving financials or career goals, but it's just achievement in general, checking off the to-do list or the perfectly clean house or the coiffed hair and the Botoxed whatever, and the perfect nails and no chips, and whatever the achievement is, that we have no more time to give to anything or anyone else. And what really matters most is that if there's an individual in your house struggling, that's who needs that extra energy. That's who needs that extra attention. And I believe that that is a dynamic that is so often missed. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is because that missed moment, that missed connection, that missed time to support one another rather than supporting all the things, that's the vulnerable connection to then re-engage and recommit and reconnect to your partner, your spouse, your loved one. And when I feel that I'm stretched extremely thin or doing all the things, there are times when I feel a disconnect with Carter because that's the name of the game. I'm doing so many other things that he's not top of the list at the moment, or our connection isn't top of the list. But putting that piece of the puzzle into the mix will allow your partnership to not just survive in difficult moments, but thrive. And yes, I know my tagline is stop surviving and start thriving. And I was trying to think of another word besides thrive, but your relationship will truly blossom and strengthen and grow. And it's a full circle moment to just remind you, oh yeah, this is what it's about. Oh yeah, this is why we're here for each other. Oh yeah, we do love each other. Oh yeah, we do love spending time with each other. Oh yeah, we can lean on each other. And while I know I've given you a lot of different dynamic patterns that are maybe not the best dynamic patterns as examples, this isn't going to happen overnight. This isn't going to happen of, great, I listened to this podcast, now we should focus on each other when one of us isn't doing well. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's going to happen. This requires fostering this dynamic and discussing this is what we want when we aren't doing well, when we are struggling, when we require a little bit of assistance. As I said, a few months ago, Carter kept asking, and I had no idea what I needed or what I wanted or how to even express it. It took me some time. And you may not even have a partner who is emotionally or socially aware enough to even ask what Carter asked. And I would say 9 times out of 10, that is the case. And I believe that we also individually struggle to, and I've talked about this a lot, request our needs of, I think I need to get out of the house, and I think I need some space from the kids. I think I need a dinner with you. But the dynamic that I'm talking about will not be fostered and built unless you start somewhere, which means having the conversation of, hey, I'm not really doing well. I'd like to talk about it. Or, hey, I really need a hug. Or I really need some time with you. Or I really need some time alone. I need some quiet. Do you think you could help with that? Then if you get that, please don't forget to thank your partner for that, because that will then reinforce the pattern and that positive feedback loop within the brain of, oh, wow, I did something good here. Okay, let's do it again. It's Pavlov. It's give a dog a bone, right? It's if you give a dog a bone, they'll learn, oh, wow, okay, got it. That was good behavior. So maybe if I do sit again, I'll get another dog bone, right? Same thing. Our brains work the same. I'm not comparing your husband or wife to a dog, but I am because a brain is a brain is a brain. Our brains are like computers, constantly coding, which means yes, things can always shift. Yes, things can always get better. Yes, things can always change. Yes, we can always do the work, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. It means that taking time to build dynamics and the dynamics with your partner that you are so desperately craving and wanting and yearning for, those are things that take time and require energy and effort and conversations and hard conversations. Hard conversations. And if your partner does not know how to give you those things, then maybe someone supporting you could help you figure out how to help your partner learn how to support you, or practice supporting you, or you practice supporting them. Or maybe you don't agree with what they need. And that can be a whole other conversation too. But out of 2 weeks of crazy, hectic chaos, because once we moved back home, it was chaos. I still had him and he still checked in every day. When I got home, moved back home for the week, second week of winter break, I decided that I knew I had needed to do this forever. And I wanted to hire someone to help me organize the whole house, but I was pay for someone to help me organize the house when I'm going to have to be there anyway to say yes or no. I can do this. I don't like doing it, but I can do this. So I did it. I literally did the entire house in an entire week. The amount of stuff I purged was just amazing. I didn't like it. Don't get me wrong. This is not one of the things that I love most in the world. Oh, I love organizing. Like, no, that's not my jam. I like things clean. I like things cleanly. I like things in their spaces and places and all the things. But I don't particularly enjoy being the one to do it. That's just me. And I still wasn't doing great. And I'm not, to this day, I'm still in the thick of, the construction has kind of gotten worse. So I'm not doing my best. I'm not at the top of the hill, but I'm not at the peak of the valley. I'm not terrible. But he keeps asking and keeps checking in. Even yesterday, he was just checking in to see how you're doing today. Is there anything that's changed? Is there anything you need? And I was like, it doesn't have to be today, but I could definitely use a hug. It is a lot. I have a partner, yes, but it is a lot. And I do a lot still on my own. I still live on my own. I still take care of the kids 90% of the time on my own. And just knowing I have someone asking me that is priceless. To have a partner who doesn't judge, doesn't tell me to snap out of it, doesn't minimize, doesn't any of that, just says, what do you need? And now I have fast forwarded through basically a month of time. 2 weeks of winter break. And then I think this is the second week the kids are back in school. And while I know this is not the point of this podcast, I can't not mention it. Because through this month, one of the things that has happened is the fires in LA. And the fires in LA are not about me. The fires in LA are about everyone who's struggling. But my heart is just breaking. And I feel helpless, and I wish there was more I could do, or something I could do. And I've also had to deal with the idea that how fortunate I am to be creating my house into a home, because I've wanted to do this since the moment I moved in. And it's taken me 6 years to be able to do it. I'm so proud that I have been able to accomplish this for myself as something I've longed for and wanted for myself. And at the same time, I look around and I can't imagine my house in ashes. And it's devastating. And I feel I needed to say that because I have really struggled. In the beginning, I was showing you guys updates and I was so excited and I knew you'd want to come along for the ride and my stories. Immediately, I was like, this is a no. I'm not going to share the beauty of what's going on in my home while others are struggling to pick up the pieces and move forward in their lives starting from scratch. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. On top of the fact that I have said that this is not easy for me to live like this in this disarray and the dust, and that this is not easy for me. And I didn't know, like I said, I've never done this, so I had no idea this would be like this. There's so many decisions. There's so many things at play that it's This is not for the faint of heart to do this. But at the same time, I have a roof over my head. And I finally came to the point of saying it can be both. I can be so sad for everyone in LA. And I can also struggle and have my own struggles through this process, but also be proud of myself and really excited that I'm creating a home that feels so loving and so nurturing for me. I have never had that. I have owned 2 homes, one in New Orleans and one here in Texas. Neither one until now I put my mark on. So I think I'm going to end this by reminding you that big or small, despite what else is going on in the world, every single one of our struggles matter. No struggle is more important than another. They all matter because it is your own reality for your own brain. I mean, sometimes I'd get on calls with people years ago and they'd be, well, I mean, my struggle's not as bad. It's not like basically saying it's not that bad. I haven't lost a husband. And I was, nope, you do not have to, your struggles matter. Your struggle, even if it's just you feel they're so mundane. No, we're not minimizing your struggles just because I have a struggle. No, 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 no. And because I give everyone else that advice, I had to give that to myself and take my own advice this time. And if you are struggling, begin to foster a supportive relationship with the person who loves you most. If you have that person, and try that on because you really may be pleasantly surprised. And so with that, I hope that you have not forced yourself into any New Year's resolutions. I hope that you are choosing to just take one day at a time and continue doing the work for yourself because that's the best way to do it. Throw that little tidbit in there. And until next time, XO Dr. B.